Hi everyone, it's me, Krylios, Team Racing Productions MC and producer, and joining me today is Mysiki Valentine, and it's such a pleasure for me to have Mysiki here with me today. How are you?
Hi.
Great to have you. Great to have you here. So let's begin with letting our audience know a little bit about your background and why you're running.
Great. Thank you so much. And I'm so excited to be here.
Thank
My name is Mysiki Valentine. I am a native Washingtonian, a graduate of DC Public Schools. I've been a teacher and a mentor for over a decade now. And today, I work with DC nonprofits and residents to achieve a budget that is racially and economically equitable. I'm running for the DC State Board of Education at large because I believe that all DC students deserve fully funded neighborhood public schools. And I know that DC families deserve a representative who's been in the classrooms, but also on the front lines of advocating for our community needs, not somebody who's aligned or loyal to corporate educational interests. So I'm really excited to be here today to share my vision on how we can move to have a really open education system for all DC residents, how we can build an environment to uplift student and teacher demands and keep and grow good teachers, but then most importantly, a system that dismantles the systems that harm our Black and Brown students. So
Very important.
thanks again for having me.
Of course, and that's very, very important.
Yeah.
And I liked what you just said. Tell me about the biggest issues that you would want to tackle or oversee if elected.
Yeah, I think one of my largest issues, and disclaimer, I think the largest issue right now, because we're in a pandemic, is addressing the digital divide for students, for teachers, for families. We know that we're moving into an age where the internet is imperative, and there are many of DC students that do not. Once elected, I think one of the biggest things that I'll be working on is ensuring that there's more democracy on the DC State Board of Education. Right now, we have a system of mayoral control that kicks parents out of meetings about their children's education, that blames teachers for the downfall of under-resourced classrooms. And we really need to be uplifting student and parent demands to hold our school leaders accountable. So that is one of the largest things I will be fighting for once elected to the state board.
Of course, definitely. And you touched on the pandemic. You spoke about the pandemic. Tell me how that has factored in with your campaigning right now. Tell me, what does that look like? How has it affected or impacted, right now you running for State Board of Education?
Yeah, that's a great question, and thank you. There are a lot of different components that have come into play since COVID has entered. We are moving into a much more digital space, and so I invite people to join me at www.valentinefordc.com so we can have a lot of conversations. I have made sure that my phone and my heart is open to people and conversations. So we've made our website in a way where people can get in contact with me. And we're really digging into our grassroots networks and having those people help us mobilize around the idea of opening a public education system for all DC residents. So those are some of the new challenges. We're doing some of the traditionals of phone banking and canvassing at certain areas and doors and going out to activities and events with other allied supporters and candidates. And so those are some of the things that we've been doing since the COVID pandemic.
Of course, definitely. And speaking of the COVID pandemic, once again, fall is upon us. The
Yeah.
school year is about to start again. For many, it's already started.
Yes.
There we go. And so it's a crazy time. Tell me your thoughts or your opinions about, restarting schools as well as, how the education system really, tackles this pandemic as, things start to open up again.
Yeah, that's a really great question. And thank you again for asking me. I want to first by state, I really applaud the work of the Washington Teachers Union, who mobilized very strategically to ensure that the city knew that teachers, parents, and other community stakeholders did not feel like schools should be open and only open when safe. And I think the matrix around deciding when to open schools is a collaborated effort that should happen between DC families, and teachers. And I hope to see that and be a part of that as the next state board representative at large. Um, there are a lot of different opportunities for DC right now, to look at outdoor learning space,
Mhm.
to look at what learning hubs look like, and to ensure that it's done in an equitable manner. There are a lot of intersections that plague children's development and ability to learn, community trauma and violence, societal, economical needs. We need to make sure that as we are building new systems to develop for children outside, or in learning hubs, that they are equitable and accessible to all DC residents, whether in Rock Creek or east of the river. And so those are just some of my views on how the city can really work together. And I hope to be a part of that conversation and that mobilizing to ensure that we do return to school only when it's safe.
Wonderful, wonderful. And tell me, what makes you the man? And what makes you stand out from, all the other candidates running for the State Board of Education? What makes you the man, and why should voters select you?
Yeah, I think what uniquely makes me different is that I am the candidate with the firsthand experience of being an LGBT queer on the streets of Washington, D.C. My mother and I have suffered through homelessness at a very young age. And so I know what it means to try to thrive on the streets. I know what it means to try to find yourself in a world that hasn't really accepted you yet. And I know what it means to be a part of an education system that is underfunded. And so that gives me the firsthand knowledge and experience to really push policies forward. And if you've heard the good saying, those closest to the struggle are even closer to the solution. And also, I would just add uniquely, I'm the only candidate that's really committed to ensuring that our budgets are transparent and that our tax dollars are following where our students actually are going. As the only candidate using the Fair Elections Program, this means I've made a commitment not to take any PAC money, any money from corporate educational interests, and strictly align myself with DC residents and students. And so those are the things that make me unique in this race. And I hope people will join me in this movement to ensure that DC has an open public education system for everyone.
Beautiful, beautiful. And so, if our viewers want to support you, donate to your campaign, or to follow you and keep up with what you're doing and your campaign, tell us how we may be able to do that.
Yes, that's great. You can find me on all types of platforms: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at Valentine for DC. That's VALENTINEFORDC.com. ValentineForDC.com. I hope again you all join me in this movement so we can make shifts for DC students and secure fully funded futures from this day moving forward.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mysiki, for joining us today. It's been such a pleasure having this chat with you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And to our viewers, thank you for watching. Bye, everyone. Bye, Mysiki.